An image. Woo! That's a good one. Okay, so I got this whole big piece of paper, which is great because this is really how you should be able to draw. You should have lots of paper, lots of room, be able to stretch out and really get the gesture is the most important thing that we're going for here. Get the real line of action of her torso, and then we've got a good line going right through from her legs, and we've got other lines coming off her. So that's just the gesture, so that's not all, of course. We put in some geometric shapes for parts of her body. Make sure you find the knees. Elbows are usually at the top of the head. When an adult puts their arms over their head, we usually get their elbows right about head level. And we're almost out of time. There. Okay. And if you're just drawing for yourself as a warm-up, like I'm doing right now, you can go ahead and draw on top of it and save paper. If you're doing drawings that you want to hand in, you probably shouldn't draw over on top of them, but I'm going to do probably 2 per page just to get myself warmed up, because otherwise it's pretty sucky, guys. I've had some epic fails, but mostly if you warm up, you won't hurt yourself. I don't want to pull an artistic muscle. That would suck.
It looks great.
No. Oh, wow, her head is all the way back here. And she's on her forearms. It's pretty intense. I like the dark in here. You can go, if you break your Conti, you can actually get some nice wide lines. Let's see, we'll start him here. And if you guys are being good and checking out your textbooks, you'll see that there's a few exercises that suggest that you turn your media on its medium on its side, so that you can get more of a fill. We can fill in the chest area. So this is interesting. Just as an aside, I like to look at how things line up, and the way things are lining up on this particular fellow, with his legs straight up like this, it's almost like it's on a perfect arc to his torso. And his arm goes down here to mid-thigh, and here's his knees right here. So we can find little connections like that. It's a good way to practice your visual nailing of the proportions. Remember that also that the torso comes in 2 parts. There's a pelvis and a thorax or rib cage, and a flexible bar in between. So it's good to block out your figure with the 2 parts to the torso. I love the way the leg goes, like curves like this and then curves like this. It's the opposite direction. I think that's really cool. It's never just straight sticks. It's always got some kind of curve to it. I'm going to switch to charcoal. Because I'm finding that the Conti is too hard and it's a little bit taped. Makes my hand tired. Okay, let's go down here. Looks like a yoga pose, actually. So here's the rib cage. There's the pelvis. Put in geometric shapes for the arms and the legs. Helps us get those areas blocked in. Our head's right here. We have time after we get everything blocked in. We can start putting in some anatomical details, like here's the thoracic arch. But no more time. That's all right. Okay. Like that. Down like that. Like that. Everyone will, of course, develop their own style. The most important part is to really look for those graceful lines, particularly with dancers. Oops, I'm going to go off the top of the page on this one. Even with all this room. It's really amazing how some people can stretch. You can really clearly see that her rib cage right there, the thoracic arch of her ribs. Her arm joint is here. She's got, you can see her neck and the chin. Pelvis. And her belly button is right up there. Okay. A lot of people doing back bends in here today. It's a good practice, or an idea anyway, that you practice to kind of making marks that divide the limbs in half pretty much, because the lower leg and the upper leg and the upper arm and the lower arm are usually just about the same length. So that helps with your proportion. Any little tricks that you can use that help with your proportion, I'd say go for it. If you have any questions while I'm doing this, just speak up. Don't be shy. I like questions. So I tried to find her midline right about here. I know she's on point, so her midline's probably a little higher than it would be if she was standing on her flat feet. That's a way to help get your proportions down. The first most important thing is to capture the movement. The next most important thing is to define the proportions. Because those are, I think, the two hardest things to put together when you're doing any kind of a drawing, giving that lifelike sense of movement and proportions.
I'm on the mood poses part of my character for object design. Hi, Nina.
Hi.
It's you.
What did you say?
I said I'm on the mood poses portion for
Oh,
my character and
okay.
object design class,
Okay.
and I got critiqued on my last batch of characters. Uh, he you know how I have the proportion problem, making my limbs look good and stuff, you know. So anyway,
So
I'm sorry, I'm
you got
sketching
hit
out
up
here
on,
too.
did you get hit up on proportions then?
It's, yeah, he ripped me up for about 7 minutes on a video, yeah.
Oh, that's not nice.
But I appreciated his honesty, and I told him that, and I also told him, you know, understand I've only been doing this a couple of months, you know, so I thought it looked pretty good. He said my villain didn't really look like a villain would. And then in the same sentence, he admits that, you know, he really wasn't familiar with my story because I guess he has a large volume of classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm, you know, all right, you know, that's fine. But it just was a lot of you should have done this, you should have done that, you know, and just there wasn't really much praise in there. I mean, he did say that one guy did look better than the rest and stuff like that. So
Well,
I got to
sometimes
take that to
it's hard sometimes to do critiquing because sometimes it's hard. I mean, the good stuff, I feel like the good stuff is probably obvious. Let's find the stuff that's not so good and fix it. But I know that
right,
it's a little disheartening if there's never, a positive word. It's
right,
you're supposed to do that whole critique sandwich. But then I also don't believe in giving people praise where they really shouldn't have it because it gives them a false sense of accomplishment when they really need to
right,
buckle down and work a little harder. And too often, students will say, "Oh, you did a great job," and I'm looking at the work and thinking, I don't know where they got that idea because they didn't follow the directions, or this is out of proportion, or this isn't on the scope, or you've got to be realistic too. But whenever you
yeah,
criticize, you have to give. You can't just say this is wrong. It's really important to say, I think you can do this better, and here's an idea of trying to do this to make this better. If it comes,
No, I figured that's what it was. You know, whenever I first read it, you know, that was a couple days ago, and you know, since then I've thought about it. Plus, my nephew helped me talk to me about it and stuff, you know, and so I'm just gonna keep doing what I do, you know, and just turn it in. And if he, you know, wants to, he has to give me something for whatever I turn in if I show effort, right? I mean, you know,
well, effort is
so
one thing, but results is also important.
yeah,
They really should be judged separately, I think, effort and results. So the thing, if somebody gets great results and they don't put a lot of effort into it, then kind of wonder what if they did put a lot of effort into it.
well,
Then the results might be phenomenal. Push yourself. Always
well,
push.
also, you know, the high volume of students versus the what little interaction I've talked to them, you know, it's been a few through email and stuff, like not like it has been with you, you know. I have actually gotten more from your input than any other instructor here, you know. So, uh, and I think it's awesome that you carry it past, you know, me not being in your course anymore.
Well, you're still
So,
a student and you're still part of the school. I think even if you're not part
right,
of the school, I'm
yeah,
all for the whole learning thing. And I don't know, it goes to show that I don't teach for the money. Because
right. Yeah,
I'm
no,
certain.
and that's what learns art, you know, and stuff is for people to expect a lot of money out of it, you know, instead of the passion for it like they used to in the old times, you know. I mean, just it's just what it's about, I guess.
When
Trying
I
to
went to
say.
school, I never really thought I would make money with my degree. But I had a professor
You
that
just
really
enjoyed what
felt
you
that you
did.
should learn skills that are valuable outside of school. That you shouldn't just
Yeah,
be cloistered making, conceptual designs that have no real use for you. I mean, it's great if you want to express
right.
yourself. That's awesome, but don't expect to get paid for it, I guess. But it would be nice if you could get paid for it, or at least recognized for it. So there's kind of two schools of thought. One is that you
Right.
make what you need to make because that's what you need to make. And then the other school of thought is, it's a craft. It's something that you build up skills with, and there's no reason to
Oh yes.
eschew skills just because you're expressing yourself. People like to express themselves, but they don't want to do the skills. And with art, it's pretty easy to put a mark on a piece of paper and say that's an expression. But what if you were dancing and you were clumsy and you fell over a lot? I guess
Yeah.
unless you made that part of your dance, it would be pretty obvious that you weren't building your skills up. The other could be, say your expression was in gardening, but you decided that, wow, she has got the weirdest muscle right there. Oh my goodness.
That's cool. Yeah, I understand about, because I've worked in shops before and had guys that, come in and it was obvious they had no idea what they were doing, had to hold their hand and stuff. And, I think back, I remember being like that, I mean, it was just
We all start somewhere.
being in the field and, yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can figure out what her body's doing. You really have to be some kind of flexible to do that. Well, it's time to buy another box of 6B charcoal pencils. I really like poses where all the legs and arms are crossing over. It's almost like a puzzle.